It has been more than 2 years since top cop Charl Kinnear was gunned down outside his Bishop Lavis home. At the time, he was investigating highly sensitive gang activities and gun running. To this day, no answers, no convictions. ipid's probe into the matter has been classified as it apparently implicates high-ranking police officers, and there are concerns that it could make key witnesses vulnerable. Now, last week there was a parliamentary hearing into the matter. Let's bring in the chair of Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee, Tina Joemat-Petterson. Thank you so much for joining us in studio. This case is just so upsetting because this was the story of a great cop who was fearlessly investigating highly sensitive things that very likely pointed to rotten cops. He was gunned down on a Friday afternoon outside his home, and his family is still waiting for answers. How frustrated are you personally that more headway has not been made in this case?
Good evening, Sally, and good evening to your viewers. The killing of Colonel Charl Kinnear was rather horrendous and unfortunate. The committee has been seized with this matter since he was killed. We've been determined to get to the bottom of the cause of his killing. The ipid report was referred to the Western Cape Director of Public Prosecutions in 2021. The DPP Western Cape found that there was no evidence of wrongdoing, and that there was nothing that suggested that there was any attempt to defeat the ends of justice. The DPP concluded that because there was no evidence, there would be no proceedings to have any criminal proceedings, and that was rather unfortunate. The committee has requested that ipid applies to the National Director of Public Prosecutions to review the findings of the Western Cape DPP. And this is why the report has to remain classified. Mrs. Kinnear has received our support, and we made a commitment, I personally made a commitment to Mrs. Kinnear that we would keep this matter on our agenda, and we have done that. The application by ipid to the NDPP should stand.
To classify?
The report should remain classified so that when they request the NDPP to review the classified report, there's an opportunity for some criminal investigation.
I'm going to have to
this.
So I need you to break this down for me, because my understanding is that initially it wasn't classified and it was widely circulated. So anyone who really wanted to see it would have been able to. So surely the whole reasons giving for keeping it classified, that witnesses could be made vulnerable, that it points to a lot of cops potentially implicated, is moot now. Why do we still need to keep it classified? Just break that down for me.
We questioned ipid about the leaked report. The report was published quite extensively. The family had to read about it in the media. It was rather insensitive. So for us as a committee to have some confidence that there would be criminal proceedings, we had to accept that the report leaked, but it was subsequently classified. Whether that is correctly done and how it was done procedurally, it's a legal matter which is now investigated by the court.
But the fact that it's been classified, does that mean that you can't, as a committee, engage with it? Doesn't it tie your hands?
We have engaged with the report. We looked at all the recommendations of ipid and the recommendations made in the report. The first was the recommendation to review the decision of the DPP, Western Cape.
Which found that there was no wrongdoing?
No.
And you don't agree with that? You don't agree that there was any?
It is not our decision.
Yeah.
It could go for
review. But you described it as unfortunate. So
yes.
The fact that the Western Cape Department of Public Prosecutions, am I right? That's what they stand for, felt that there was nothing in this.
I'm not a legal expert.
Sure.
I do the oversight work, and the committee has consistently been seized with the matter. The second matter that was of concern to the committee was Mrs. Kinnear's protection. We have had a request from Mrs. Kinnear, and as a committee, we do not decide on whether she should have protection or not. We called in the Provincial Commissioner of Police, he indicated that they did their risk assessment, and the protection is provided according to a risk assessment. The committee does not conduct a risk assessment.
Sure, I understand.
And
but
after
you can put pressure, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after 3 different attempts or assessments, they found that she did not require any protection. An independent assessment was done. The independent assessment also found that she did not need any protection. And as I said, the committee doesn't decide on whether she can have protection or not.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk timelines here, because the point that Mrs. Kinnear raised when I interviewed her last week, her greatest fear is that another hard-working cop who gets too close to the truth is going to get gunned down in his or her driveway before this issue is resolved. I think she raises a really good point, because 2 years after this high-profile murder, there's really been no action, no convictions. How long is this process going to take, do you think?
The committee took a decision to pay significant attention to the killing of Colonel Kinnear, precisely because we do not want this to happen again. We would like to be convinced in some way that we have done significant work to ensure that the case is heard. This is now a legal matter, and it is up to the NDPP to decide if the matter will be taken further. So ipid will request the NDPP to review the decision of the Western Cape DPP.
As an oversight committee that keeps an eye on what the police do, yes, I understand you're not part of the legal process, but surely it is your job to sound the alarm bells loud and long until this process speeds up. What are you doing to push this process to fruition? Or are your hands tied?
We have done our bit in terms of what the police is supposed to do. We have had a strict time frame in terms of viewing the report and studying the report and placing the report before the committee. ipid's recommendations in all matters have been largely ignored by SAPS. That is a concern.
ipid is what? Sorry, what did you say?
ipid's recommendations, not only in the Kinnear matter, but generally their recommendations are not taken very seriously. So the ipid Act has to be revised. The draft amendment bill, ipid amendment bill, has been released for public comment. This is because of the Kinnear matter. The law needs to change. ipid needs more teeth. ipid is the oversight body which investigates any wrongdoing by the police. So if anything, the family of Colonel Kinnear should feel vindicated, because for once the law will change.
You have read the report. I know you can't discuss the report, but as the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, how concerned are you after reading that report regarding the state of corruption in our force?
We had serious investigations around the anti-gang unit, and the concerns we raised were upheld by a judgment in the High Court, which indicated that there has to be further, definitely further investigations in the Western Cape Anti-Gang Unit, as well as in the Western Cape SAPS. That is a process we'll be watching very carefully.
Yeah.
And then we need to be confident that not all police are corrupt and not all police are inefficient and incompetent. Our ambition is to restore the confidence the public has in the police. And that is very critical. If we do not have that as a country, then we would have been failing our country.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us in studio this evening. That, of course, is Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Tina Joemat-Petterson.